Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Snapcast Plays. Rob here, joined with Abe. How's it going, Abe?
Hey, what's going on, Rob?
Not a whole lot. Looks like we're going to be playing some GR Eldrazi.
We sure are. As you guys know, this is the deck I've been playing with a pretty decent amount of success lately. You can hear about it in some of the Snapcast episodes, my success in Las Vegas, Atlanta. I top 2'd a PPTQ last weekend where I lost in a very epic game in Game 3 of the finals to an Elves player. There's another one coming up next weekend, so we're trying out a few new sideboard cards, jamming some reps, changing a couple numbers, doing that whole Tekken thing that you have to do when you play a deck a whole bunch.
All right, yeah. I noticed that there are some changes from when we spoke last about this deck, and those changes being I don't see Onkrot Crasher anymore.
Yeah, so the card's been very good, and it was really, really good when it caught people off guard. Unfortunately, I've been playing this deck so much here that my local meta has kind of grown to expect it. I've been asked many times, hey, are you the on-crop guy? And I have to say yes. So I made a few changes. I took some inspiration from, I can't remember his name, but he took top 8 in GP Sao Paulo with this deck. And he was playing basically the same version, kind of the stock list, but instead of playing the Spice, he was on the cleaner version of it. If you remember correctly, I was playing a single waste to ensure my ability to cast spells through Blood Moon, and then to have an extra land for Path to Exile. I've stopped liking it over the last couple of months. Every time I don't have it, I wish I had had something else. Every time I do have it, I kind of wish I had something else. So I've gone back to the Boreal Druid, which, for those who don't know, is just a mana dork. It's a 1/1 for green that taps for a colorless. So that also insulates you against Blood Moon effects. It's also just another 3 pieces of ramp, which increases your consistency of getting a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, which is basically what this deck wants to do, is to play your spaghetti as quickly as possible. So going from 4 Nobles to 4 Nobles and 3 Boreal Druids really increases those opportunities. I also went back to the one of Scavenging Ooze in the main, with Spirits becoming a more popular deck, having some form of really, really big creature that every time you trade in combat gets more aggressive, is really important. It works well against humans as well. But in addition, one of my buddies, Jacob Negro, whose team just almost top 4 the Pro Tour this weekend. They got 7th place. They're playing that spicy Dredgevine deck with the new Stitcher supplier.
Yes.
And that deck is gross, and having some more graveyard insulation is really important right now. Everybody's going to be trying to jam that deck. This is still really good. It also hits Storm, KCI. Basically anything that interacts with the graveyard scoos is really good.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask, what do you have to help protect yourself? Because Dredgevine has kind of taken over on Magic Online as well. Listened to a few of the interviews from the past weekend's events. And yeah, the one of Scavenging Ooze in the main is really good to have. And then, of course, your sideboard has some little bit of graveyard hate as well.
Yeah, so the sideboard I've been doing, this is probably not exactly the sideboard that I'll be playing next weekend for the PPTQ. Might change 1 or 2 cards again. We're trying out Alpine Moon, and it's partially because there's a few Scapeshift players here locally, and this deck doesn't have a ton of interaction when it comes to land-based decks, so beating Valakut's very important. I can beat Primeval Titan, I can beat their ramp plan, I can beat their lightning bolt plan, but I can't beat them comboing off with Valakut and Scapeshift, so Alpine Moon's just an extra way for me to cheaply interact with that, since basically nothing else I had in the board. Damping Sphere doesn't do anything against it. So we're going to see. It also helps against Tron. It's just another form of interaction. I already had an OK Tron matchup, so we'll see if I want to keep the 2 Alpine Moons. The Flame Slash I've found to be very good these days because of the amount of humans and spirits that are still in the format. Having Flame Slash as just an extra 1-mana removal spell that kills just about anything is very helpful. Oftentimes I find that 4 bolts and 2 dismembers weren't enough. Having that 1 extra effect is pretty good. If you remember last time I was talking about playing Seal of Primordium.
Yes.
So I tested it out. I ran it through a bunch of leagues with this deck, and in the places it was good, it was just fine. And in the places it was bad, it was much worse than Natural State. So unfortunately, it didn't do exactly what I wanted it to, and I think I'd just rather have the Natural State. So we're going to try those again. The 2 relics are really good against graveyard decks. They also draw cards, which is pretty relevant when you're playing an aggressive strategy. We're trying 2 Abrades today. It hits a lot of the creatures out of humans before they get too wide. It can deal with a couple of the creatures from spirits. It's also good against Aether Vial because you have the modular option to either pop the Vial or pop one of their creatures. And if you force those decks to play in their turn instead of in your turn, your matchups improve greatly. The Ancient Grudge is really, really good still. A lot of the lists aren't playing it, but I've found that there's just too much affinity. There's too much KCI in the format still. I've even seen a few more players playing Lantern as of late. So having that recursive ability when you get it milled, it's still pretty good to have. With Alpine Moon in the format, I'm not so sure how I feel about the Damping Spheres. We're going to give it a shot today. Damping Sphere is really good against Storm, although they are ready for it now. Most of them are even playing main deck Echoing Truths. It's really good against Tron. Unfortunately, it also shuts off Eldrazi Temple, so it slows us down a little bit, but I would rather play like a turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer or a turn 4 Thought-Knot Seer when my opponent's casting a turn 7 Karn instead of a turn 3 Karn.
Right.
The 2 Kitchen Finks are really good against Jund strategies, Abzan, Sultai, any of the like grindy, mid-rangey, Liliana the Veil type decks. It's recursive, it's sticky. It's also very good against the burn strategies or the other aggressive strategies. I think I've been playing all 4 in my paper version, like F&M and stuff, just seeing how I feel about it. It's great because you get to hit it when you want to hit it, but I don't know how I feel about taking up all 4 sideboard slots. And then Engineered Explosives is probably the best catch-all in Modern right now. There's a ton of 2-drops, there's a ton of 3-drops, what with Spirits, with the new Dredgevine deck. You've just got so much utility with this card, and a lot of people have gone up on copies, so we're going to see how I feel. Maybe one of these Damping Spheres will become an Engineered Explosives or one of the Alpine Moons, but we'll see how that goes.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's run this through a league, see what we can do.
All right, let's give it a shot. Hopefully we have some favorable matchups. I know I've been playing a lot online as of late. The last couple of days I've been playing Tron, just to cast really gross stuff really early, and I keep getting some weird pairings, so we'll see. This hand is medium. We're on the play, which means we have a turn 2 Matter Reshaper. If we get another Temple, we've got a turn 3 Smasher. If we don't hit another land for a few turns, these 3 are our only plays, which makes it a little rough, but hopefully they'll start trading with the Reshapers. If this is something like Storm or Dredgevine, we do have the Ooze. So we're going to try it, and we'll see how it goes. You know, a lot of decks you try and posture your first couple of turns, right? You play your fetch land and you try and like make it look like you're playing a different deck. When you go turn 1 Eldrazi Temple, it is pretty obvious what you are playing.
Yeah.
But it's worth it. So our opponent mulled to 6, and they scryed to the top. So, Razor Verge Thicket, we're playing against Boggles. So Matter Reshaper is actually pretty good here, because it can often block and trade up. Obligator's not great, because all their guys are going to have hexproof. But if they swing, as long as they aren't doing Daybreak Coronet type stuff, it's just a very good aggressive threat. And basically, if they play anything at all, I'm going to block. Even though now it has first strike, so I don't trade. We're trying to get to that third land, and we have another Reshaper to buy us another turn. Oh boy. Okay, so now they've got Trample as well, which is really bad for us. But that's just Boggles doing Boggles things. The Engineered Explosives in the board is great for this deck.
Yes.
The natural states are pretty good because they blow up the enchantments. Alright, so we got another Grove, which is good. So we've got a couple of options here. We can play Bloodbraid and hopefully land a creature to block. We can play a Smasher and get aggressive, but they have 3 cards in hand, which means we could actually just die next turn. We could play Reshaper and Ooze. We couldn't activate the Ooze. I think I like that though. If we play the Reshaper and the Ooze, if we block with the Reshaper, we can use the Ooze twice next turn, as long as we just live.
Okay.
So we're going to play our Reshaper. Always use your Cavern, kids. It doesn't matter if it doesn't matter. So we give them a little bit of life here, which is fine, because this matchup's not going to be won by inches. This one's going to be won by miles. We're either swinging for lethal or they are. This means they probably have all the things. Unflinching Courage, that's kind of bad for us. The lifelink's very relevant. It just pulls them further and further ahead.
Right.
And we really don't have any main deck ways of dealing with this. So let's see what we get here. We'll take 1,000,000. We're going to go up to 1,000,000. It's land, which is good. That's what we wanted. So they're at 24. So we can play Smasher. If we play Smasher, we activate Ooze once, which puts us at 12, which means that we're probably dead. Noble Hierarch doesn't really do anything here because they've got Trample. Bloodbraid can't really get us a removal spell that'll do anything. It could be another creature, but if it's a bolt or something, it's just it's basically dead. So I think we just have to try and hope that they have 2 more lands in hand and they've already done all their stuff. It's pretty unlikely, but we'll give it a shot. So we'll play the Smasher as a blocker, which is just the worst. And then we'll attack with use. This is kind of a non-bow here. They're going to gain a life. And then they're going to take 1 extra damage. So it's like that Grove didn't do anything, but neither did the ooze.
Right.
But it's fine because the life's more important for us right now. If they do draw blanks, there's a chance we can squeak it out, but that's probably the game right there. Well, so let's see. If we don't block, we go to 2. They go to 32. Yeah, this game's just unwinnable.
Yeah.
There's no way we're going to be able to do anything against that. So, natural state to deal with the enchantments, and engineered explosives to deal with the creatures. I think that's about all we have. Obligator's pretty bad because it doesn't do anything unless they have the core Spirit Dancer.
Yes.
In which case they can suit that up and then we can steal it, which is pretty good. I think we got to cut the Dismembers though, because that's the only creature it'll be able to hit unless they have some spicy sideboard creatures. I have no idea what the board of Boggles plays anymore. So yeah, I think we'll cut the Dismembers and we'll put back in another Obligator just to have a hasty threat. But it feels like this matchup is kind of bad for us.
Okay.
So, we have an interesting choice here. This hand's definitely a keep. But the question is, are we supposed to lead on Temple and hope that next turn is another Temple for Thought-Knot Seer, or do we lead on Carplusian Forest into Ancient Stirrings and try and set up our turn and then have the green mana right away for Natural State? Because they're not going to be able to play Creature Enchantment next turn, which gives us a turn. So I think we're supposed to play the Carplusian Forest and Ancient Stirrings and try and set up the turn 3 Thought-Knot Seer while having the disruption. So let's give that a shot. Stirrings gives us an Eldrazi Temple, which is perfect. So next turn we will play Temple, have a Natural State up for whatever they go for on the Boggle, and then, oh, perfect. And then we just get to jam Running Smashers, or Running Thought-Knot Seers, strip some enchantments out of their hand, have a 4/4 in the face of their, hopefully just a 1/1. So in a matchup like this, you want to wait on your Natural State because Daybreak Coronet is the best threat in their deck, and it says the creature has to be already enchanted. So if they get a Daybreak Coronet and they go to cast it on their creature, if you can remove the enchantment on the creature before it resolves, Daybreak Coronet gets countered, and it's essentially a 2-for-1. It wastes their turn. So here, we're going to want to deal with the Ethereal Armor, because that's the one that's going to give it the most damage. And unfortunately, we're not out of the woods yet. We just have to hope that their hand isn't really good. It's just okay.
Yeah, come on, show that Daybreak Coronet.
Yeah. Alright, so they have 2 more creatures and 1 more enchantment. So we're going to take the enchantment. The creatures are just 1/1s by themselves. And, we just showed them a natural state, and we've got another green mana open, so hopefully they're going to think about their play. Oh, alright, Griff's Boon's bad for us because it gives it flying. However, we know now what they have in their hand, and we're not very scared of it because they don't have lifelink, and our 4/4 is a faster clock. The only problem is this Thought-Knot Seer is only going to take a Boggle or a Scout, and neither of those are really ones we care about. So now we're going to have to take the Boggle with it, and we have drawn a million lands. So let's play the Wooded Foothills. Try and thin the deck out just a little bit. We put a couple of decent cards at the bottom off the Ancient Stirrings. So we'll smash there. They don't block, which is fine. We'll play another Thought-Knot. We'll strip the Boggle. Now the problem is they're top decking. They can cast basically any enchantment that they draw. And all of them are bad for us because they're going to suit up the guy with flying. They're not going to suit up the guy on the ground. Okay, good. We blanked a step. We're going to shuffle the cards at the bottom away. Get this tap land. Hopefully not draw another land. Okay, of course we did. Well, man. So we can't block this either way. So we just have to smash. Okay, that's good for us if he blocks. It means our clock isn't quite as fast, but it means his isn't either. We'd love to fade another draw step, but it's pretty unrealistic. There it is.
Oh, man.
So we're on a 2-turn clock. We can't swing into it. We can't kill it with Obligator. Natural State's a really good draw here. Engineered Explosives would be insane. And yeah, that's just the game. So kind of an unbeatable matchup, especially when we draw 17 lands in a row and a bunch of mana dorks. But this deck has some draws like that. So and for the most part, a lot of people aren't playing Boggles at larger tournaments in paper anymore. If you talk to Dmitry Budikov, who was the Magic Online champion, he played Boggles to success, and he was talking about how much he hates the deck, and the only reason that he played it was because it's good on smaller stage tournaments. It's easier to get under people's radar, there's less interaction, but it never really does well at large tournaments because there's just so much generic hate that does really well against it, and it has so many bad matchups. But, that's how it is.
Yeah, we had Boggles top 8 the PPTQ yesterday down in Jacksonville.
Oh, okay.
And Infect ended up winning it.
Yeah, I heard about that. It's, there's some good players down there, and every now and then some of those decks do well. I played Infect for a zillion years, and I still play it occasionally, and it just has never been as good to me as it used to, but that doesn't mean the deck isn't powerful. We're in a format with a bunch of turn 3 kills. Alright, so I think we have to ship this hand back because we're on the play, and we can't cast anything in our hand but Dismember, and it could be just a dead card depending on what we're playing against. So let's see if 6 is better. Yeah, that's a lot better. So we can hopefully scry a Temple on top. Now this is an interesting choice because we don't know what we're playing against. So having this interaction could be useful because we're probably going to play Forest, Noble Hierarch, Pass, and if it's a deck that we need a Dismember against, it's really good to have, but we also just want another land. Naturally, we don't want to spend the Ancient Stirrings for a land as well. We could use it for another threat, so I think I'm going to keep it just to be safe. And we know what we're drawing next turn. The real issue would be if this is just like, you know, some mono removal deck. So that could be in Affinity with a really slow start, or Infect, which we were just talking about, and in which case Dismember is great.
Yes.
So that's Ancient Stirrings. Let's see what we can find. So we probably want to take the land. Yeah, I don't think Obligator is important right now. So we'll take the Wooded Foothills so we can shuffle this stuff back in, because the Obligators could be good.
All right, and we're back. So we just lost you for a little bit when that plane was going overhead. But so you ended up taking the land.
Yep. Took the land. We're shuffling this stuff back in because there were 2 Obligators on the bottom. They played a Windswept Heath, pretty much guaranteeing that it's Infect.
Yep. But
so this Dismember was pretty good, which means we're just going to jam Thought-Knot Seer.
So I'm wondering then if they have Blighted Agent in hand, or if they have Glistener Elf, but they also have a Blossoming Defense or Vines of Vastwood, because they still haven't played a creature against you yet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what necessarily they're playing against, because this doesn't really look like removal spells.
The red is the only thing I could see them being afraid of right now.
Yeah, and it's fair to play around that. I disagree with it. I think in Infect you have to jam and jam and jam, especially game 1. But we're going to take a look now. So they have the triple Inkmoth start. They got the Windswept Heath, 2 Blossoming Defense, a Might of Old Krosa, a Mutagenic Growth, and a Spell Pierce. So let's see what they do next turn. If they draw a land, doesn't matter which land, they're probably going to play an Inkmoth Nexus, Animate Inkmoth Nexus. And that means they have 1 mana, so they can Mutagenic Growth for free. And then they'd probably use their mana to protect. So I think we want to take the Might and just slow them down a whole bunch. There might be a way where we can interact with Blossoming Defense because we have the Dismember, and then, you know, if we leave something like Cavern of Souls open, they don't see a removal spell.
Okay.
So it might just slows them down the most, because this is essentially, this makes it 5 and then this makes it 7 damage. So they've already got lethal in hand. So we'll see what they draw. If we draw a Temple off the top, that means we can have both Smasher and Dismember. So yep, there's the Inkmoth as we expected. They animate their guy. They're going to get in for 1, maybe 3. Yep, oh, they're even burning the defense, so that's great, which means that if they go for the next one, we can just kill them. Now they do have the second Inkmoth, so it's not super great, but we just have to be a little bit faster. Oh, they're just jamming everything? Okay, that's fine. So we don't know what they drew. And we're at 5 poison. Alright, so if they drew another pump spell, we're just dead. So we have to keep the Dismember up this turn, which means we can't play the Smasher. But it means we can get in for 1 extra damage.
Yeah, so 6 damage this turn.
Yeah, because we're going to use this guy. And then we'll just use this Cavern as bait because they don't think that we could have a removal spell with it. So hopefully they'll, play their defense first or something. And they don't have another colored source for the spell Pierce. Alright, there's the 3rd Ink Moth. They're firing it up. Okay. So we're going to take 3. We can't fight Infect inside of combat. Alright, so now's our chance. And this isn't great, because they still have 2 more Inkmoth Nexus. But we know they have a Spell Pierce in hand, and that's it. Alright, so now we just have to jam the Smasher and
you have lethal.
Try and kill him. Oh yeah, you're right. Math's hard.
Oh, I wasn't even looking at Smasher. I was looking at Kessick Wolf Run.
Oh yeah, we have that too. So we've got like double lethal. Yeah, I was looking at my own life total. Cool. Alright, so Infect. We want Relic to beat Become Immense, Explosives to beat all their dudes. Abrade's good because it's cheap instant removal that also hits Ink Moth. I don't think we need the Ancient Grudge. I think that's overboarding. Alpine Moon. Flame Slash might be okay. It's sorcery speed, but I guess we can give it a shot. Let's see. I don't know if we need to board that hard as well because we have a decent amount of interaction. Let's see. Scavenging Ooze is alright because it helps keep them off Become Immense. Smasher's not super necessary. I think we could cut 2 Reshapers. They're good against Glistener Elf, but they're not good against Ink Moth or Blighted Agent. Obligator doesn't block well here, and we don't really care about trying to kill them with Infect damage. So unless we're stealing like their Noble Hierarch, it's probably not going to do a whole lot. In fact, I'm just going to cut all the Obligators, and I'm going to put back in one of the Reshapers. Let's go.
All right.
This hand's pretty good. We've got a turn 1 Dork. We don't have any removal. We've got the Relic. If we draw a temple off the top, we've got a Thought-Knot Seer. If not, it's on turn 3. Yeah, I think we're going to give it a shot. This hand's a little loose, but it can improve quite a bit. hopefully we're not just stone cold dead. Although them leading with Forest is often good because it's one less card for Become Immense. So here's the interesting choice. I think we play the Druid, and unless they have, you know, some, if they burn all their pump spells and they don't have a Distortion Strike or a Slip Through Space, we might actually just block here.
Okay.
Because we are playing on the defensive this game. Oh. Okay. Well, that's fine. That means they don't have another pump spell in that spot. Which is good, because I'll take 1 over 5 like any day.
Yeah.
And we have the other dork, so it doesn't slow us down that gratuitously. We could also use Ancient Stirrings here and try and find another green source so we can double spell this turn. Or we can play Noble and then Relic and Ancient Stirring next turn, which I think is the better play. Their hand seems slow, so we're going to just try and keep it slow. And this way, if we Stirrings into a land next turn, we can hopefully play a Thought Knot. So we are not going to block this turn, unless they, you know, just go all in. Alright, land. They're firing up the guy. That's fine. They're holding the Misty back, playing around something, I guess. No blocks. Take 2.
Yeah, just 2.
That's,
all right.
That's good for us. So we might have the Spell Pierce. There's another Thought Knot, so let's cast the Stirrings. If they Spell Pierce that, that's fine. Okay, well, we did hit some lands. Unfortunately, none of them let us cast anything this turn. So we're just going to have to take one. We'll take a Karplusan Forest so that we can double spell on our colorless spells if it comes down to it. It's also an untapped land. It just scares them a little more. I don't think we can attack. Well, we don't really want to block either because we bottomed a bunch of lands there, so I guess we'll just get in for 1. I'd rather have it back to block, but since we don't know if we're going to have a 4th land, I would rather take the 1 point of damage and keep my dork alive.
Okay.
Plus we can just crack the Relic for little value. Well, they played that untapped, which is pretty bad for us, I assume. Okay, that's not awful. They're going to fire up Inkmoth, or do they have a pump spell? Oh, wow. Their hand really is slow.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. We'll take 2. I'm going to crack this Relic to draw another card. Oh, that's great.
Oh, wow.
Now, unfortunately, it doesn't hit the Inkmoth Nexus, and it doesn't hit the Spellskite. But what we can do here, since we missed our land, we can play a Thought Knot and take a look at their hand. We can swing with the Noble. If they're smart, they won't block. If they're dumb, they'll block and then we bolt the Spellskite. We can play explosives for 1, 2, or 3. If we do it for 1, we get the elf, but we lose our noble. So I think we're just going to jam a Thought-Knot here, see what's going on in their hand, and hopefully block on the Glistener Elf, take another 1 in the air. You know, eventually they're going to start drawing something gross, so let's see. They've got Vines and Blossoming Defense. Vines just straight up kills us, so we have to take it because they activate Ink Moth, kick this, and we take 5, go to 10, and die. So now they have Blossoming Defense and Dryad Arbor. We don't care at all about Arbor because we're at 20. Blossoming Defense. So now they just have to poke us in the air because they can't trade on the ground. What's he got? Did he draw it? Oh, he drew another one. Alright. We're dead. Well, that game we should have won if we had drawn a few more lands. So I think we're just going to run the same sideboard plan back. We've got enough interaction. We just needed an extra land there to be able to do two things at the same time. Okay, so this is one of those hands that I like keeping on the play because not only do we have the turn 1 Noble Hierarch, we also have the Ancient Stirrings for the next turn, so we're pretty much guaranteed to hit a land. If we go turn 1 Noble and they have a Dismember or something, it means they're slowing themselves down and not disrupting our plan that much, which is great for us. So while this hand's a little sketchy, I would much rather one of these Smashers be another land. It is what it is.
Yeah, I can definitely see the benefits of keeping it, and I mean, you do hold up a really good argument. Me being new to this deck, I would be afraid of this hand a lot.
You know, and it's completely fair. I have kept this hand a bunch and done very well with it, but I have also kept this hand, and you know, you just never, your Stirrings misses, and then you don't see another land, and it's just variance.
Yeah.
But it also opens us, if there's a Temple on top, then we've got a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, which is insane. Absolutely bananas. Okay, so we are going to Stirrings. There's a Temple. So we're going to play that. We're going to play our Matter Reshaper. And then we've got a turn 3 Thought-Knot, hopefully followed by a turn 4 Smasher. Sure. Unless his hand is 4 copies of Mutagenic Growth, we're quite fine. Alright. Oh, that's great. So we're going to make it look like we have a bolt just to scare him. And then let's get something good they have for us. So their hand's pretty gassy. They don't have another creature. Yeah, see, they had 2 Mutagenic Growths, so we literally could die this turn if we don't have the ability to strip something. So we're going to take Might because it's the most... Our opponent just messaged us, I was really hoping you were going to play Reality Smasher. So they knew they had us dead if we tapped out for a Smasher, and I'm very glad that we went with the Thought-Knot line because now now we're in pretty okay shape. We take the Might, and that means next turn the most they can do is 2, 4, 5, 6, which puts us at 7.
If they kick Vines of Vastwood, that's a +9 plus or +8/+8.
Well, they can't activate Inkmoth and kick Vines next
Oh, that's
turn.
right. Yep. Oh, okay.
So Might's the most damage because it's the most mana efficient. It's going to take them at least 2 more turns. So we do have to, kill them before they kill us or find some interaction. But we do have a chance, unless they draw, another Might of Old Krosa or just anything else, because their hand is just full of pump spells. And if they use the life for mutagenic growth, we're in great, great shape. Oh, they're just going to one us. Okay, so we have all these cards still in their hand. There's one unknown. So we can go, let's see, if we play a Smasher this turn, that's 5, 9, 10, 11, 12. If we play a Bloodbraid, that's 3, 6, that's 10. So it's more damage with Smasher, and Bloodbraid's better when there's something to play into, like a creature for removal spells. So I think we just have to hope that we don't die this turn. 3, 4. Our life total does not matter here. So one of us is dying. Alright, so they're going to take a bunch, and they either have to kill us this turn or they die next turn. And pretty likely that they can kill us this turn, actually.
Well, no, because now they have to be careful with their Phyrexian mana and fetching.
They do.
Because their only other land's a fetch land.
Yeah.
And that's what makes mutagenic growth so powerful, but because you've been able to cripple them, there we go, he concedes.
Our opponent messaged us and said, GG's, did you have the Dismember? Well, we
will let him wait on that answer.
Yeah, that's one of those things where you never show your hand. Not only does it doesn't matter that you're never going to meet this person. You might play against them again online sometime, but they could be on a different deck. It's just good to keep your information to yourself. The only time you show your hand to somebody is in a game of poker when you're trying to get in your opponent's head after a good bluff or something. So,
all right.
I don't like showing your hand in Magic. Okay, so this hand's a little awkward. We have a turn 2 Reshaper, but unless we draw a green source or a red source, we have no plays other than that. However, we're on the draw, and our opponent has mulligan, so we're going to try it. It's not a great keep, but we only have... this is 2, so there's 20. Oh, we're playing against blue-white, or Jeskai.
Boo.
Yeah, so now we really need the Thought-Knot Seer on top. That would be great. Get some information, get a card out of their hand. Reshaper's fine in this matchup, but it is not a heavy clock. It's not a 4, it's a 3. Okay, Cavern's great. It lets us cast the Obligator. It still doesn't let us cast anything else, though, so...
So would it be worth it, then, to possibly name either... to name Druid so you can cast both your Noble and your Boreal Druid, then?
It would be. It depends on the next couple of plays, so they're still not doing anything, which means their hand's probably okay. They did mold a 6, and they put it on the bottom. We have the ability to start casting those cards, but then the problem becomes if we draw like a Reality Smasher or something.
Right,
they just that... logic knot it.
Got it.
What we really want is just a Wooded Foothills so we can start casting our Ancient Stirrings. But that is not how this game's going to go for us, apparently.
We could still jam, I would say, Eldrazi Obligator. If we're going against control, the only creatures they really have is Snapcaster, right?
Yeah. Post board, they usually have like a Lyra or a Baneslayer. I guess you could steal like an Elspeth token, which is kind of whack, but it does look like blue-white. It doesn't look like Jeskai yet, and they might be doing that on purpose. But I think we just have to get in for as much damage as possible since we're not doing anything else. So we're going to jam the Obligator. And we're just going to try and smash. We're going to take control of our own guy and get in there. So one of the more interesting things in the sideboard of this match is that we could potentially play Alpine Moon and name Celestial Colonnade. And that shuts off, I'm not going to say it's their main win condition, but it is definitely a big threat. I don't know if it's necessarily better than Dismember. So, if we play the Ancient Stirrings here, and they have Cryptic to counter tap, we lose some value. But if we play Ancient Stirrings here, and we hit a Smasher, then the Smasher's uncounterable. So I think we're going to give it a shot. Our life total doesn't matter. And if they want to, waste their Cryptic on an Ancient Stirrings, that's just fine with us. There it is.
Oh, he let it resolve.
Yep. I'm glad those aren't on top either.
Yeah.
Because now that we have the one red source, we're in business. So, always use your caverns, kids. So they could still have Cryptic, and they just tap draw. I guess they could have main deck Settle the Wreckage, which is horrible. You shouldn't do that.
Oh no. Oh no.
Snapcaster as a blocker? Sure.
Okay.
That's fine. We will accept that trade. Okay, so their hand was just really bad. I don't think that this matchup is great for us. They do have a lot of cards that are really good against us. Supreme Verdict, Wrath of God, all those cards, they're really good unless we can get under them. So we're bringing in Finks because we want to tax their Path to Exiles. If they're wasting a path on a Finks, it's one less they can use on a Smasher. Natural State hits Detention Sphere and Search for Ascanta, but it's pretty weak otherwise. Relic is fine. It draws us a card, gets them off of their Snapcasters. Dismember is not very good. It kills Colonnade. It might kill one of their things post-board, but it doesn't do anything else. Reshaper turns into a new card if they hit us with a Wrath. Obligator's hasty, So here's one of the huge issues that I always have when boarding with this deck. Obligator and Reshaper are the same mana cost, and they take the same spot. Reshaper is typically just a 3-drop, or 3 mana, it can be a 2-drop, whatever. Obligator you usually want to cast for 5, because when you cast it, you're stealing a guy. However, Obligator has haste, and hasty threats are really important in a matchup like this, where they're just trying to out-tempo you, draw a bunch more cards. That incremental damage is very important. However, Obligator gets blocked by, if they have Secure the Waste for 1, we lose our Obligator. So it's not great. So I'm going to cut 1 of each. And I'm going to put the 1 of Natural State, just in case they have a Detention Sphere. These are our really good cards in this matchup. These 3, Bloodbraid, Thought-Knot Seer, and Reality Smasher, are the best cards in this matchup, especially if we can land a Cavern. Bloodbraid's automatically 2 cards, Thought-Knot is 2 cards, and Smasher is 2 cards. And that's why they're good, is because a deck like this that wants to 1-for-1 trade with everything, and then, land a Teferi, start attacking with Colonnade, land an Elspeth. If you're 2-for-1ing them, you are winning. So we're going to give this a shot. See how it goes. Hopefully we don't stumble quite as hard. And, we would love it if they stumble as well. So this hand is great. We've got the turn 1 Noble into hopefully a turn 2 Thought-Knot, but could be a turn 2 Matter Reshaper with an Ancient Stirring. So there are a lot of high sides to what we just drew. Bloodbraid's good. It's good to have. It's not great right now because we want to land Spaghetti first, but that's fine. The other nice part about the Forest is if they have a Spreading Seas, then it doesn't shut us off Temple mana. We don't care if they Spreading Seas our Forest. And they have a ton of tap lands, so let's see if we can't punish them for it. Let's get a Stirrings. Find ourselves... Oh, there's the problem. So we want both of these really badly. But we can't. So we're going to play a Temple. We could play another Stirrings this turn and, get another threat. But what I would rather do is have the board pressure, force them to start dealing with this because it's going to be attacking for 4th with Noble, and they haven't done anything yet. And then if we can, next turn, we play the Thought-Knot and the Ancient Stirrings, that's pretty good for us because we can find a Cavern. If they're going to path our Thought-Knot, it's fine. So that's a little tough. They've got one of the issues why Blue-White's a little harder than Jeskai is because they play the 4 Field of Ruins, and they're going to use it. Oh, they're going to click us. Okay, that's fine. So, they're probably going to take Thought-Knot. They might take Smasher.
I was going to say that's a tough one for them to try to choose between.
It is, and it depends on the content of their hand. If they've got a Wrath, then they're probably going to take the Thought-Knot, so we can't strip it. If they've got, 2 Wraths, maybe they take the Smasher. Their life total is a resource, so they're going to... If they're at 1, they're at 1. They haven't died, so they don't care. They're trying to keep the board clear and then kill us with, these dudes, Vendilion Clicks or Colonnades, so they have to survive to be able to do that. And we're just going to start, shoving spaghetti at them, so let's see what they pick here. Our hand is very good against Vendilion Click. That's the nice part. I was worried that they were going to field our Temple, because then we only would have been able to cast the Thought-Knot Seer this turn. Now we have a choice. Okay, so they did take the Smasher. which means they've probably got multiple instances of removal in their hand. Not great for us, but it's fine. So they've seen all of these cards. They haven't seen the Grove. So we could play Kessig Wolfrun to present another threat, because it means that even cards like Noble Hierarch can get in for damage later, but they've seen it, so it doesn't really catch them off guard. So this turn we're going to play a Thought-Knot Seer and take a look, see how dead we are, and then we'll probably cast the Stirrings after that. Okay, so they have double Terminus, Jace, and Path, and they have 4 mana. So we're going to take Jace, because it lets them set up the double Terminus. Path is okay. It's probably going to draw them a card when they hit Thought-Knot. I don't know if I agree with their decision. They took Smasher.
Yeah, I was going to say this.
Although I guess Smasher's faster, because it comes in and immediately hits them for 6, because we have the Noble in play. So we're going to take Jace. Let's cast the Stirrings. Let's get another Thought-Knot Seer, which isn't great. We would have wanted a Smasher there because they have 2 Terminus. They're pretty far away from casting either of them unless they rip like another Jace or a Telling Time or whatever they're playing these days. And if he wants to trade here, that's fine too. That means they have 0 pressure. Oh, perfect. So we get a card out of it. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
All right.
There we go.
So now he has to choose between hitting Cavern and Temple with Field of Ruin. He does have the second Field of Ruin, but that's going to take him a few turns. Alright, and I think he's trying to think if whether he wants to Thought-Knot or Path the Thought-Knot right now to see if he can hit, something else, maybe like a Serum Visions or an Opt, but it looks like he's just going to ship it back to us. So let's see what we do here. We play the Wolfrun. He can't counter if we play the Thought-Knot. And then he's going to Path probably this one because it's the one that gets to attack. We could jam the Bloodbraid. And then maybe hit, I don't know. Let's see, we boarded in 1 natural state. So we could hit that off of Bloodbraid, which is bad. Bolt can go upstairs. Any of our creatures would come into play. Yeah, I think that's the right choice. I think we're going to jam Bloodbraid this turn.
Okay.
If he did rip a counterspell, that's fine. We know the rest of his cards. That's fine. It's not great, but it's it's an attacker for next turn. As long as he doesn't Path the Thought-Knot and rip like a Supreme Verdict or something right off of it. He does get to Field Dust this turn as well if he does that. So. But it keeps the pressure on. Now we've got a lot more board presence than we did at the start of this turn. Okay. Yep, see, he's scared of the Wolfrun. He'd rather hit that than Cavern and Temple, which, like I said, there's a reason behind it. not great, but if we had been able to activate it this turn, that would have been better, but unfortunately that's not how it works. So he gets a basic, Pats thins his deck out a little bit, we get our basic, he draws a card. Alright, so now we just have to not draw lands for a few turns and get him with the goods. Alright, Colonnade. So he still has double Terminus. But he doesn't have anything else, so still pretty bad for us. We're going kind of slow. We drew another land. The other issue is attacking with Bloodbraid, and attacking with Bloodbraid and Boreal Druid does the same amount of damage. So we basically got a blank piece of cardboard sitting on there. But we're just going to attack with the Bloodbraid in case he has a Settle.
Okay.
Okay, he takes 4. So now we're going to jam the Thought Knot, which isn't great because he's 1 land away from a Terminus. And he has 2 of them. So we know we can only get rid of 1, and then he gets to draw a card when they Terminus, because Thought Knot Seer says when it leaves the battlefield.
Yep. Yeah, I just had to look that up.
So this is not good for us at all, because he has the land. We don't have any fetch effects. The path could be a fetch. So I think we have to take the Terminus, and then he's going to have 1 Terminus and then a path for whatever we draw the next time. So we're not in great shape. His hand's pretty good against us. And he's going to field now so we don't get to shuffle off it. And destroy our cavern, that's fine. We're out of basics. So he plays the Flooded Strand, Terminus. Hopefully we draw a Bloodbraid or a Smasher and keep the pressure on, because he's not going to be able to play Path and Terminus this turn. Sure. Any order is fine. They draw a card. And then big threat. Let's go. Well, a threat, which is fine. They're probably going to start smashing with Colonnade, so we're just going to jam this guy and keep our points rolling. If they want to path him next turn, that's great. We don't care. They might just hold Colonnade back as a blocker. Play that like draw-go game, but we'll see. Oh man, that's not good for us at all. That was a really good draw.
Yeah, it was. Jeez.
They probably have a Snapcaster as well, so they can do it again next turn. Well, we don't really want to trade into that. We'll play another creature. We're not scared of the soldiers, so that's not what we lose to. Yeah, his draw has been much better this game. Yeah, much better this game. Oh, and he's faith sealing us. Great. Hopefully he bottoms. Oh, he left it on top, so yeah, we're probably just dead. Because we know he has Path. Bolt. Yeah. Yeah, we're dead this game. There's nothing we can do that gets us out of this.
Gross.
Yep. He had the good draws, but that's fine. So, we didn't see Detention Sphere or Search for Escanta, which is weird because I'm sure they have it. But I don't like Natural State. It just doesn't do anything if they have nothing. Let's see. We saw Timely Reinforcements, so maybe Explosives is good to clean up tokens. We could keep the pressure on with Obligators. Yeah, I think we're going to bring in the Explosives to help clean up tokens, and then we just try and get out under them. Yep, this hand is fine. Does the same thing again. We've got the turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Ancient Stirrings, hopefully a threat. Alright, they kept their 7. Can't get lucky every time, I guess.
Oh, does he finally have the turn 1 visions?
Yeah. Oh, turn 1 vision. Well, that's really bad for us, too. Because we have to be able to beat that. We want to race that before it gets too close. Although, now they don't have white mana. They could have a bunch of Glacial Fortress in their hand. But if they have Colonnades, like, their hand's really slow. So, I think what we're supposed to do here is, because we don't have an Eldrazi threat, so getting a temple doesn't do anything. We could play land Kitchen Finks and have a turn 3 attacker. I think that's our best bet, actually, because we need pressure on the board. Finks means Path is the only way to answer it. They can't... I guess this is blue-white, so they don't have Bolt and stuff. If they block it with a Snapcaster, it's not as great. Yeah, we just want to put the pressure on. Next turn, we'll be able to Stirrings and Relic and all that other stuff.
Okay.
This is just board pressure. I'm getting in for 4 a turn. Get some incremental life back. Not that it matters in this matchup. Yep. Oh, they're doing the basic game this time, I guess. That's fine. So they could have something like Blessed Alliance. There we go. Alright, so we are going to bash for 4. I'm probably going to take it. They can't have a Logic Knot. They might have an Essence Scatter. I don't know that too many of the decks play that in Modern. Well, and they're going to path it on in response. That's fine. We'll get a land. They draw a card. We get to see their whole hand. Alright, so they have no more colored sources. Terminus is several turns away. They need another island at least for Jace, which they can get off Field of Ruin in several turns. So we're going to take Timely because it's the only spell they can cast next turn, and it's really good against us right now. Why won't it go away? Okay, whatever. Yep, so now we just have to hope that we can race. Okay, so they drew Colonnade, so we know their whole hand, which is good. Oh, yeah. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I think we're supposed to Stirrings, find a land. No, we don't want to do that, because Smasher's going to be fine. If they, like actually miracle a Terminus or something, we want to be able to use Stirrings to get another threat.
Okay.
So they have to take 8 here, which means they're dead next turn unless they do something. They need another blue source in order to Cryptic tap the team. Their vision doesn't come off until next turn. They play the Field of Ruin, which is fine. Alright, so they could have drawn a path, or whatever else, Blessed Alliance, or no, that's sorcery. Secure the Wastes. They might have a Settle the Wreckage. So I think we are supposed to Thought Knot first to play around whatever. It means if they have something like Path, that we don't kill them this turn, and we might lose because they take out the Smasher, we only get in for this many, and then they just start, doing the thing. Because this is going to get them that third blue source. So yeah, we're going to jam Thought Knot, even though it's not ideal.
So if they pad, then would you take Cryptic Command to keep them off of it?
I think it depends on the texture of their hand. Okay, so they drew an Opt, which gives them another look. Now the issue is if they Field of Ruin, they only have 1 mana this turn. Okay, we just got it. Yep. So they got nothing with the Opt. Yeah, see that there's a lot of lines for that turn because that could have been the turning point, right? They're dead on board. If they had had a path, they would have had to path the Smasher to keep them off dying that turn, which means the Thought Knot resolves and it sticks around. If these were the cards in their hand, we probably would have taken the Cryptic because it gets them another card, it taps down our team. Jace is good. It sets up the Terminus, but it doesn't distinctly kill us right away. And we're still at 20, and we have a bunch of board presence. So, that's one of those things where you have to see the texture of the game. That's why playing team events is so difficult, because if you finish your match and you go sit with your buddy, you might see a line, but you might have no idea based on, the texture of the game already. So they may have seen their opponent's hand and have information that you don't, and they're playing around something because of that. So
gotcha.
Thinking about your plays is never a bad thing. People get mad online sometimes because you're taking your time. If they're really going to bother you about it, just let them know. Like, hey, sorry, I got to think about this play. So we're playing against Dude Man Word, which I like that name a lot. However, I do not like this hand very much. It's got 4 mana dorks with 1 mana source, and then 1.5 threats. So we're going to keep because we're on the play, And, if they have removal for our dorks, we don't care. The problem is this hand is super clunky, so I guess we'll see how it goes. Oh, and they're mulliganing. So we're going to get Stomping Ground, Noble Hierarch. Actually, we're going to get Stomping Ground, Boreal Druid, because if we draw any other land, it lets us play the Reshaper.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's one of our basics, if we had played Noble, we would not be able to cast the Reshaper next turn because we would not have the colorless source. So let's see. They mold the 6, put their card on the bottom. Yeah, that's not great for us. So what we're going to do, and here's the other issue now, because we did the Boreal Druid, we don't get to play 2 mana dorks this turn. We can only play 1. So we're going to play a Noble, and we're going to bash for 2, and then we're just kind of have to see how it goes from here, because this hand's a little weird.
Yeah, basic island with no visions. I'm really curious to see what he's on.
Yeah, well, and they did mulligan, so it's probably an opt. Yep.
Okay.
Which means it's more than likely Storm or Control, because those are really the only 2 decks that play opt.
There's the visions.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if you've seen, but with the rise in Dredgevine, or not really Dredgevine, but the Vengevine list,
Yeah.
the prices have spiked. It's
Oh, absolutely.
and MTG Goldfish had a Vengevine last night at $85.
Yeah, well, that's the Pro Tour bubble. We're all aware of it happening. Really needed to be a land, although this is good for us, but we can't cast it right now. So,
Second Noble smash for 3, and then drop the other Boreal Druid, or drop the Matter Reshaper.
I think the Matter Reshaper's higher value than the damage because it turns into a new card. If this is a path, they probably won't path any of these guys. If we play the Reshaper, they're much more likely to path it because then we don't get the card off of it. They know that we're land screwed, but they still might do it to keep pressure off of them, and we'd really like more land. So we're going to jam, let's see. Yeah, we're just going to play the Reshaper.
Okay.
This doesn't feel good, but hopefully we get land out of it and we can go with the Thought-Knot Seer or Bloodbraid next turn. So yeah, and that was something that I knew about because, like I said, my buddy took 7th at the Pro Tour this weekend, and that deck's insane, and we knew it because I've been watching him play it. We've been talking about it for a while. So it's a very good deck. It's been due for a spike, I think. Once, Shadows over Innistrad came out, it spiked again because Insolent Neonate gave that deck a huge boost. And then this Stitcher Supplier. So, when cards come out that have a significant effect on an existing archetype that may not be tier 1, and they give it that power boost that it needs, it's remarkable how fast cards will climb. Now, anybody who's listening, please don't buy it at that price.
No.
Wait a couple of weeks, maybe even just a week. Once the hype dies down, it always happens. Once the hype dies down, it'll start to go back down. They were almost sold out on TCG Player last night, but they're available on like Magic Card Market in Europe for a quarter of the price that they are over here because the market moves slower over there. So if you are desperately trying to buy these cards at a reasonable price, get them online from not the American market. You'll pay a reasonably fair value for them. They'll take a little longer. If you're super concerned about it, if you have to buy these cards for a deck, your Wednesday night Modern or something, well, good on you. So we're going to smash here with Reshaper since we drew the land. Then we're going to jam the Thought Knot and see what they're up to. It looks like blue-white control again. They just had kind of the weird setup because they were on the mulligan and so were we. They can't play Logic Knot here. They could have a path, which is fine because that gets us the land. Telling time. Okay. So now we get to look at everything because they would have cast this afterwards. But it might be the only thing we would have cared to take. So this is the Blue-White Miracles list. They have the land. So I think we just have to take Supreme Verdict because it's straight up a 4 for 1 against us. Leaving them with Condemn and Path isn't great, but we've got a bunch of hasty threats, so we're not super worried about that. The Spell Snare's dead. Scavenging Ooze is literally our only 2-drop. Negate might hit like a bolt or something off Bloodbraid, but that's terrible. So we're going to take Verdict and just keep the pressure on. These leagues have been really weird for me. I play against 8-Whack, the Goblins list.
Yeah.
5 out of my 10 games the other day with Tron.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was very strange. And you don't normally see, that type of repetition unless there's a bunch of people trying out a deck. I don't know. Maybe it's because everybody was watching the Pro Tour, so only people that play 8-Whack were on Moto. But there's no way of knowing. So we know this is their hand plus 1 unknown. Spell Snare does nothing. So I think we are going to cast the Bloodbraid. And if they want to negate whatever we get off of Bloodbraid, that's fine. Yeah, we're going to tap it like this so we can get in with the Druid if we need that extra point. Please don't be a Dismember. Okay. That's fine. So now we get Smashy. They have Path and Condemn. They're probably going to use them both. If I was them, I would Path the Thought Knot, draw a card, and then Condemn the Reshaper, because we only get the trigger when it dies. It's not like Thought Knot. Oh, they're... Okay. Sure. They are condemning the Thought Knot Seer. We gain some life. They draw a card. They take 7? Nope. He's going to Path the Matter Reshaper. That's fine. It's basically the same thing that I said, just backwards. We'll get a red source here because now we have the green. We want to be able to activate Wolf Run next turn if need be. They take 4. We've still got board presence. They've got 2 dead cards in hand for sure. Oh, great. Why not? Miracle Terminus. You got it, bud. Alright, so they still have Negate and Spell Snare. Okay, so let's think. If we play Noble Hierarch and cast an Obligator, that's 4 damage. Puts them at 6. We've got 3 more bolts in our deck, and we know they're not on the bottom. Alright, so we smack them for 4. And this means if there's no interaction, they're just dead because we attack with the Obligator and then we bolt them. If they play land, they can put a Colonnade blocker up. Sure.
Well, they also have the negate, too.
Well, that's true, but if they block with the Colonnade, then they can't negate.
Okay.
So, if they Field of Ruin, I think we just dump. Let's see, if we go 1, 2, 3, we can +2 with the Wolf Run.
That's lethal.
It is. So they have to deal with it. So let's see what happens. Exalted Trigger. So now if they fire up the Colonnade to block, then we pump it, we trade with the Colonnade. So if we give it +2, they go to 4.
Bolt takes them to 1, but again, they're still at 1.
Yeah. I think it might be better to...
But then you can kill them with Noble.
True.
The most insulting of losses.
I think it might just be better to play the Reshaper post-combat.
Okay.
Because it forces them to have another answer. And unfortunately, we had that weird start, so we don't get the extra lands to start doing, like, this turn playing all 3 of the cards in our hand, or Kessig plus Matter Reshaper, because we just don't have the mana for it. So this is fine. We'll take the trade. I'm going to play this Boreal Druid just in case. It's not great if they have another sweeper, but if they have, like a path or something to remove Reshaper, if they just have the 1-for-1, we have another threat.
Okay.
It's not a great threat, but this forces them to deal with a lot of different things here. They've got Field of Ruin for the Wolf Run. They've got another land, and they have Colonnade as a blocker. Basically, we're just trying to keep them on the back foot. If we don't let them develop their game plan, we have a chance. Because it's starting to pull away from us.
Yeah. Now, why did you hold back your bolt?
You want to force them to play on their turn.
Okay.
So if we had, if we bolt them this turn, it means they don't have the mana for Colonnade. Yeah, Jeskai and Blue-White thrive because they have the ability to play at instant speed. So, we're going to Stirrings. Take a Thought Knot because it's the only thing. We'll jam the Thought Knot now. And then let's see what they have. We know they've got these 2 dead cards. Oh, and another land. So we'll take the negate, because then we can have lethal with a bolt. Let's get in with Reshaper. It forces them to fire up Colonnade and block again. That's fine. It means we get a card out of it. It keeps them off a land. And we get a Dismember, which is not great. Would have liked to have that for the Colonnade, but that's okay. Now we have several threats in play. Yep, Field to Ruin. Sure.
Oh, okay, so he's just dead.
More than likely. I think he's just jerking around. Dude, man, word. Alright, yep, we got it.
Alright.
Let's move on to the next one.
Let's go say 3-1.
Well, we've got another game here.
Oh, boo. That's right. Back-to-back control matches. I forgot about that.
Yeah. That's alright, though. We're going to board the same way we did last game. This guy seems like he's playing the more, I guess, Miracles version of the deck. Yeah, it's the same deck, but there's the blue-white control and the Miracles version. And the main difference is the Miracles version, I think, plays all 4 Terminus because they play the cards like Telling Time that let them stage their draws so they can actually get those Miracle triggers. The blue-white control version has the Jace, has the Terminus, but it doesn't manipulate its deck in the same fashion. I don't think they play Opt. So okay. We're going to cut Dismember again. I think we're going to go down. Yeah, we'll go down 2 Obligators and a Reshaper. And then let's get frisky. Okay, so this hand is fine. We've got turn 1 Noble, turn 2 Finks, like the other time. Hopefully we draw into a Thought-Knot Seer. But if not, we've got Smasher coming up, and he's pretty good in this matchup. Bloodbraid's also a good draw. I think if you look at it in a vacuum, that the blue-white control version is better than this blue-white Miracles version because it actually does more stuff. The blue-white, the Miracles list spends more time manipulating its deck than being reactive and proactive.
Okay.
And while that is good against some matchups, Terminus, for example, is basically a dead card against Storm. It's basically a dead card against KCI. So the blue-white control version doesn't have as many. It doesn't play Telling Time. It's got, more relevant cards. And then I think the Jeskai version is better than both because having the ability to just, bolt, snap, bolt your opponent out of the game is pretty good.
Yeah. I know that's why Tyler, he was on Jeskai yesterday. Sadly missed top 8 at the PPTQ.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's how it goes. I was pretty upset. Like I told you at the beginning, I lost in Game 3 of the finals. Again, that's my 4th PPTQ top 2 that's been decided in Game 3. And it's getting pretty frustrating, but that's why we're doing this, is so we can tech a little more.
Right.
So, back on the game, we played the Kitchen Finks, got a couple life out of it. Our opponent has played Ghost Quarter, which is a late game land for this deck. So he's getting cut on lands after a fetch and an opt. He used the path on our Kitchen Finks, which is just awful for him.
And
like I said, that's why we bring him in.
And
he's missed his third land. So we're just going to crush him with a Smasher this turn. We're not going to use the Foothills because he might still have paths, and maybe if he survives, he gets to settle range or something. So this is going to be really good. It's either going to get 2 cards from him, or he's going to take 6 damage, and both of those are okay. Yeah, so he has to discard a Terminus. We gain 5 more life. We still have 2 threats in our hand. When the control deck is land screwed, their hand is great because all their cards are very good cards. But this deck needs to make its land drops in order to play them. So the fact that we get to spike a Terminus for free is super important. Okay, so we're going to sandbag that. He has the Ghost Quarter, so I don't like playing the Wolf Run a ton because we can't use like the Bloodbraid and the Wolf Run in the same turn yet. However, it is a gross threat, and it might cut him off another land. So we're going to jam it because he got rid of it last game. The other threat to be made is maybe we could play the Obligator and then the Wolf Run. So let's think. We've got, this is Bloodbraid. Yeah, so we're 1 short from using Wolf Run this turn if we Bloodbraid. We could hit another creature. There's a Smasher on bottom that we'd love to be higher in the deck. We have the Shuffle effect, but he's got the Ghost Quarter, so I think we're going to Obligator, since he probably doesn't have any creatures right now. And it doesn't actually change the numbers because we don't have enough to activate the Wolf Run. So we're going to jam Bloodbraid, get a Cascade trigger. It's a creature, which is fine. It's not great right now, but we really would like to stop hitting Boreal Druid off of Bloodbraid. That is, we discussed at the beginning the fact that I'm playing the Boreal Druids and I'm not playing on Crop Crasher anymore. Bloodbraid feels a lot worse now because your hits are now even less likely to be relevant.
Right.
In the on-Crop Crasher version of the deck, you've got the 4 Nobles and then Ancient Stirrings, Dismember, which is rough, but you could hit Mana Reshaper, you could hit On-Crop Crasher, you could hit Obligator. In this version of the deck, it adds 3 more basically dead hits, and you lose 2 more hasty threats. So, who knows? If you could figure out, if there was a way to know exactly what decks you were going to face at a larger tournament, I would absolutely sculpt myself for that. So, this is why we kept the explosives. He time lead, which is good because he gains the life, but he hasn't played another land. He's tapped out, and his creatures are going to die basically for free. The other option is that we Bloodbraid, dump a bunch into the Kessig Wolf Run, and if he blocks, we just trade. We've already gotten a card out of it. It pushes a ton of damage through, and then we keep the explosives for if he draws another timely, or if he ever gets the mana for Elspeth. Because he has to triple block if we swing with just the elf. This is a tough one. So we'll play the Foothills because we want to keep making our land drops here so we can do more damage. Yeah, and then I think we'll see if he's willing to trade, which I'm sure he is because he already gained 6 life. We can just Wolf Run for a billion and pass, and then keep these cards in our hands. Yeah, so he offers up the block. So we're going to fetch. We're going to get our Stomping Ground so that Path to Exile is still alive. We're not worried about life totals right now. And we're going to put as much mana into this thing as we can. That's fine. He takes 6. So we basically traded Bloodbraid Elf and our turn for his timely reinforcements, which isn't great. It's letting him stall. He's digging for these lands. He's, you know, eventually going to get there. Like, they do play enough that they can do the thing. But I'm not sure what's going on because he's drawn real poorly. So I think we Stirrings here. We look for a threat. Smasher would be great. Thought Knot's fine. So we're going to attack with the Druid. I'll take 2. And then we jam Thought Knot. Alright, so let's see what he's got. He can't have Cryptic. He could have another Path or something. He's been saving it. Oh, he's got Snapcaster Path. That's fine. Alright, so we don't really care about Snapcaster because all he's got in the yard would be a Timely and a Condemn. He's probably going to start drawing some lands at this point, so I think we take Teferi because it's the real threat.
Okay.
We lose to the card advantage. You know, we can beat another Snapcaster Timely because he's probably going to path the Thought Knot, and that means he can't opt. So he can't get another land off the opt. He has to draw it naturally. And we do give him another look. Now that Smasher from the bottom's shuffled back in. Yep, so there he goes. Glacial Fortress. Okay, so we have the beats. He might snap Timely? No? Okay. Is he going to click us? Nope. Alright, so we have a couple options here. We can take his Snapcaster with the Obligator, and then we're threatening 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're threatening practically lethal. He does have Snap Condemn. We could also play Explosives on 2. And then it'll blow up his Snapcaster. But if he goes for the second Timely, I think we want to be able to remove the tokens. So let's count the mana out. So this is Obligator. This steals Obligator. So we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Yeah, so we can Obligator with the trigger and Kessig Wolf run this turn, so I think that's what we're going to do. The Temple was an okay draw. We just want to get aggressive. All right. He might wait on the Condemn until we go for the Wolf Run, and if he does that, then maybe we just jam the Kitchen Finks during the second main. There's that opt.
So that takes him off timely reinforcements then.
Well, timely is a sorcery, so he can't do it during combat. He could snap Condemn. He could have drawn something else relevant. He might be popping the field before. No, he's just gonna Snapcaster, target Condemn.
Okay.
If he doesn't condemn one of these creatures during combat, then I'm just gonna play. Okay, so he's putting that on the bottom, which is fine. So now we're gonna dump the mana into Boreal Druid. We're gonna buff it because we want to just force this damage through. He's doesn't have, well, he's got 2 new cards in his hand, and he does have the land to deal with the Kessig Wolf Run. He's trading off the Snapcaster though. So we've got a lot of really, really strong draws, and he does not have much.
Yeah, keep an eye on your clock too.
Yeah, I see that. 420.
Blaze it.
Appropriate. Is he going to upkeep, blow up our lands? Or try to? We still have another forest in the deck, so doesn't do a whole lot. Cavern's alright. So we can, let's see, we could pump Noble Hierarch in response to this. And if we do that, 1, 2, 3, we want to be able to cast Kitchen Finks this turn. So there's the 3, 1, 2, yeah, so we can put a few mana into it. Because all we need for Finks is these. Yeah, and we've already drawn our land for the turn, so we're not worried about like picking up a Smasher off the top or something. So that'll let us cast Finks. And now if he spends his whole turn on a removal spell, that's fine. Yes. Sure. I'll play the Finks. Now I just have to close it out. What's he got? Cryptic? Counter my Kitchen Finks? Sure. So now we have to hope that we rip something relevant. We want a Smasher. We want a Thought-Knot Seer. That's not exactly it. Okay, that's fine. We're out of lands. So we're going to sandbag the Cavern, just in case he has more removal lands. We don't need it until we get a big threat. He might actually try and close the game out here, because we're so low on the clock. And we can't attack into Colonnade. Yeah, that's what we get for chit-chatting.
Damn.
Stream out, time out, bro. That's how it works. You'll see people stream all the time, and they just lose because that's not enough, because he can still activate the Colonnade. And playing draw go with blue-white's real bad for you. Although the fact that he's not attacking with the Colonnade means that he doesn't have enough cheap removal. So we really need like a Smasher. Bolt's pretty good. Yeah, I think we're gonna just go for it. Not great because it just dies to the Colonnade, but it trades. So it forces him to do something. That means there's one less blocker. Okay, he's at 4. So at his end step, we're going to bolt him. Let's see what happens. Oh, shit.
Oh, man.
Well, we still have the explosive, so that's fine. The life's pretty good here, so... Bolt him. Smasher. Stirrings, that's fine. Well, we'll take Relic. Relic lets us cycle. Another Relic. That's not great. So we're going to play the explosives on 0. If he counters it, that's fine. If he doesn't, we blow up the tokens. Get in there for 1. We got to start getting our chip damage in. And we play this second Relic and we'll pass. Now we're fighting the clock as well, and that's the issue. Because we probably have this game, but we just need enough time to close it out. If he's going to Terminus for a Noble Hierarch, we're in great shape. So he does have the Colonnade up this turn, which is rough. There's the Smasher, and it's uncounterable. And there's the Bolt. This is perfect. So as long as he doesn't have, I don't know, everything, we can do this. If he blocks with Colonnade, he still takes 1.
Yep.
And then we should be able to close it out next turn, unless he has like another Miracle Terminus or something.
What would you go for it? Yeah, next turn. Yep.
Yeah. bolt him. He's a 2. He could have something, so let's see. Uh-oh. Settle? Shit. Yep. So he's still in it. God, the third timely. Well, that's fine. Got another smasher. So he's still not out of it, but we're definitely still not in it at 20 seconds, so.
Come on. Come on.
We can do this. If he goes Snapcaster timely, I might have to step outside and scream for a minute.
No, that's fine.
Because look at this. Look at what we have burned through this game.
Oh my gosh. He's in the tank.
We've gone through.
What's he doing?
Oh my god.
No.
No, not like this.
Oh man.
So we need, what do we need? We need another 1, 2. We've got more smashers in the deck.
Yep.
Oh my god, oust? Well, that's not great. What does that do? Second from the top. So we draw the smasher this turn. I don't understand what happened to why you didn't. Oh, because we didn't have any more creatures. Oh no.
What?
Now we're gonna time out because we misclicked our mana.
Oh no, yep. Oh, such garbage. Oh man, that's upsetting. I'm sorry, that was me.
No, it's all right, man. It's all right. That is
God.
one of the costs of speaking. That's one of the costs of playing while you stream or while you record. Is you spend too much time focusing on the content.
God, we had that one too.
Mm-hmm. That was absolutely like the last turn or two of the game, so we would have been fine. We're playing against Hey QT. That's clever. This hand's fine. We've got the turn 1 Noble, maybe a Stirrings. This is KCI or Affinity. Yeah, it's KCI. So it's not great. The double Dismember draw is basically dead. So we need to hope that we get Thought Knots into play quick enough to disrupt, and maybe Smashers to close it out. Mox Opal, sure. Sure. Okay, so we're going to Stirrings. There's a Thought Knot. We want all of those cards, so we're going to shuffle them back in. Get in for 1. We're going to save Lightning Bolt just in case they have like a Trawler or Retriever.
Okay.
Because right now there's no artifacts in the graveyard for them to start looping. I'm sure it'll change. There you go, but you still want to be able to get in. Is this just it? Just the casual turn 3 Ironworks?
Yeah, that must be nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I bet your games didn't go like this, huh?
Not one bit.
Alright, so we're going to yield until their end step and let them do their thing. Rob, do you want to explain for the viewers how the KCI combo works?
Yeah, so what they're doing is KCI is actually a mana ability. So it goes quicker than instants and things like that. It's one of the few times where you can actually do this sacrifice effect quicker than normal instant speed spells. So what they're doing is they're generating a whole bunch of mana, and they're trying to get to a Mirror Retriever. With Scrap Trawler, what it allows them to do is whenever they sacrifice an artifact, or whenever an artifact enters the graveyard or Scrap Trawler, you can return one with a lesser mana cost from the graveyard to your hand. So you'll see them cycle things like they got Ichor Wellspring, they can sack it, get Star back, they can sacrifice Star, get Mox Opal back, and get a whole bunch of card draw and continue to just build up their mana pool until they're able to cast. What they want to eventually do is get into an infinite loop of either infinite draw or infinite mana generation and Pyrite Spellbomb kill. And the 4 cards you need for that are obviously KCI, Scrap Trawler, Mirror Retriever, and then Pyrite Spellbomb or Chromatic Star. With Chromatic Star, that's where you're on your infinite draw. If you can get Mox Opal in play, now you're also generating infinite mana because it becomes 3. To play the 4 cards that you're mainly cycling, Opal, Star, Mirror Retriever, and Scrap Trawler, it only costs 6. So you're netting 3 mana each time. And here we see Pyrite Spellbomb now in the yard. He's got 2 Scrap Trawlers. He has the loop set up now. So probably what he's going to do is he's going to demonstrate it to you. Show, hey, I kind of have it set up as infinite. He's running Ensnaring Bridge. Okay, I guess that's a good way to lock people out from attacking. But he'll be able to pull multiple cards out. He may try to type in chat to explain, hey, I have my loop set up, and I can now end up beating you. So we'll see. Good for them on turn 3, though. As quick as turn 2, if you have 2 Darksteel Citadels and 2 Mox Opals, you can actually play your Quark Clan Ironworks, because you can sacrifice your Darksteel Citadels to KCI. But, yeah, I mean, as you can see, they're 21 cards deep in their deck right now. They're probably going to hit you for 2 here. Yep. And they'll just keep going until you either concede or they kill you.
Yep, and we're going to concede for the sake of time.
Yeah.
They've shown us the combo. We've explained it. Normally we let people combo off so that viewers can see it, but you guys have an understanding now, and it's pretty clear what they're doing. So we're going to move to the next game because we lost. So now we get to bring in all kinds of good stuff. So Damping Sphere is great.
Really good against this
all
deck.
Of their spells cost a zillion more. And then we're going to bring in our Graveyard Hate and our Artifact Hate. Explosives is okay. It can spike a couple of things, but we want to keep ourselves on the original plan of having enough pressure to kill our opponent. So our hasty threats, our disruptive threats are really good, but we also want to be able to interact with their game plan as well. So we can't cut too many of our creatures, and we can't not put in enough of these hate cards that we're bringing in. So it gets a little bit tricky. We're going to keep the core of the deck. Bloodbraid's pretty good into one of our hate cards. I think we might just cut the Boreal Druids. We're not worried about Blood Moon or anything like that. So we should have our colorless sources. We're not. They do bring in Lightning Bolt usually post board to deal with creatures. So having less targets for like our dorks might be relevant. Scooz is really good because it nips graveyard cards as well if we can't find one of our relics. So I think we're going to cut a Druid. And then 2 Bolts. Because Bolt can close the game out. It's also pretty good off of Bloodbraid. We don't really care about hitting their creatures with Bolt, so maybe we want the 3rd Druid and 1 less Bolt so we can just ramp. So yeah, we'll try it like this. We'll see how that works out. Yes, we would like to play first. This hand is not great, but we've got turn 1 stirrings. If we find a red source, Ancient Grudge is going to be great. So we just need a few lands. So we're probably going to get a land off of this. There we go. Well, we're going to take Wooded Foothills so we can shuffle this Smasher back in. And then we're just going to start trying to disrupt them and eventually curve into Blood Braids that kill them. Sure. One of the issues here is hitting their star with Ancient Grudge. They still draw the card because it's whenever it goes to the graveyard. They don't get the mana from it, which is good. But since he has Opal, it's not super relevant. Although they showed us the Ichor Wellspring, so if we blow up the star, their Opal's not online yet. Okay, see, there's the Smasher. So now we'll play a Grudge. We'll get Stomping Ground because life total doesn't matter. And we're going to blow up their Mox Opal. And then hopefully that slows them down enough. So now they can't cast Wellspring unless they have another land. We'd love to draw a Thought-Knot Seer on here, because then we can play it. Yeah, so they might have been able to cast KCI that turn, but we slowed them down enough. I've got a Worm Coil in hand. So that's fine because we have our Obligator still in the deck. So we'll play Temple. We can't cast anything this turn. We're going to flash back the Ancient Grudge and get rid of the Mind Stone. Just try and keep them off mana. They also don't get the incremental life from Inventor's Fair. So this is kind of bad because they can have... next turn they can cast KCI. So we have a choice to make here if we want to play the Smasher, the Bloodbraid, or the Natural State. And I think we have to play the Natural State. We have to get rid of the Mind Stone. Unfortunately, that means we still don't have any pressure. But we're slowing them down enough that we can develop. There it is. So let's see what they can do this turn. They only have the 3 cards. I get to draw 2 more. And there's the Trawler.
And that's going to get back Star.
Yep. They're going to start looping.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this deck is absurd. The fact that they did this through 2 uses of Ancient Grudge and a Natural State, and it's still turn 4, and they're comboing off through 4 hate cards essentially is, really gross. There's a really interesting article written by Emma Handy on StarCityGames.com talking about why this deck should be banned, or cards from this deck should be banned, or the rules should be changed a little bit, because this was essentially found as a loophole. The old deck, Eggs, before the printing of Scrap Trawler and after the banning of Second Sunrise, was played by some people, but it was slow, it was dirtily, it didn't have the the infinite version of it. You were playing, what was that? What's the white card? Open the gates or...
Open the vaults.
Open the vaults, yeah. So you were playing like this janky mono white version of this deck, and it wasn't very good. And this deck is consistently insane and, being played by some random person on Moto. So this is not some, we're not playing in the Pro Tour, we're not on coverage at a GP, we're just playing against a generic person online playing this deck, and it's so powerful.
I would say that this is probably, once you have an understanding of how to goldfish it and identify good hands versus bad hands, this is probably then the easiest deck for someone to pick up.
Yeah.
Because
it is.
You're solely playing by yourself.
Yeah, there's no interaction. You saw we played 4 cards to remove our opponent's cards. 4 hate cards, like specifically brought into this matchup. 4 of our sideboard cards. And it didn't do a damn thing. All it did was keep it from happening a turn earlier.
Yeah, and having the double scrap trawlers out now, whenever they sacrifice the Ichor Wellsprings, they get to pull 2 one cost cards out of the yard, or a 1 and a 0. And now they finally found Pirate Spellbomb, so you're going to see them just continuously loop this, sacking Ichor Wellspring to get it back. With the second scrap trawler, that's almost like insurance to ensure that you get it back until they get the Mer Retriever, because you get to put the stacks on kind of however you want. So it allows you to get back all 4 cards that you're sacrificing, or all 3 cards that you're sacrificing, depending on how many you're using. But he has enough red mana now that he doesn't need to really bring out Opal.
Yep, this game is 100% over. The only thing that could happen is our opponent misclicks 35,000 more times, and that's obviously not going to happen because they know what they're doing. So we're going to concede.
Yep, it's a shame.
Over. It is. Unfortunately, we didn't really stumble, but we just didn't really have enough interaction. The hand was fine. We drew well, and there was just nothing we could have done. Relic might have given us a chance if we had gotten it earlier. If we had been able to cast the Blood Braids and the hate cards, because that would have been the second cascade. But it is what it is. So we went 2-3. Which is not great. We didn't see any of the matchups that we brought the other cards in. Let me show you the deck again. So we're trying out the 3rd Boreal Druid because on paper I'm only playing 2. I've still got a Mind Stone. But it's kind of good when they have Spell Snare in the format to only have the 1/2 drop. It just makes it a dead card. We didn't see a single Tron or Valakut deck. We didn't see a single Humans or Spirits deck. We didn't see Storm. We didn't see Humans or Spirits. So all of the numbers that we're testing out were basically a wash because we had no way of knowing what we were going to play against, and all the cards that we brought in to help make ourselves better in different matchups, we never saw those matchups. But that's variance. So
yep. But that'll do it.
See what happens.
Yeah, that'll do it for us, though. Thanks, everyone, again for watching. Please be sure to click the like and subscribe down below so you can stay up to date on all of our latest videos that we do get posted. We do hope to keep this going. We'll see. I have advancement results coming out maybe this week, so I might lose my weekends because I have to do some things. We'll see about that. Check us out online at www.thesnapcast.com, facebook.com/thesnapcastmtg, at Team Snapcast on Twitter. And, of course, you can subscribe to us on iTunes. We're on CastBox, all the different outlets that you can get to listen to the wonderful podcast we do have to offer. And if you're feeling extra generous, check out our Patreon. We just gave away a M19 bundle to one of our patrons out in Indiana. So he'll be getting that for free, and we'll be giving out another one at the end of this month and at the end of September. So be sure to check it out for your chance to win that. But that's going to do it for us tonight. Y'all have a great evening.